So yesterday I went fishing to a lake. It was June the 1st, 2023. And I had this fly reel, which is a Lamson Liquid fly reel. And I've had this reel for about 3 or 4 years now. And when I first got it, it was set up for right hand retrieve. And I had to switch it over to left hand. And I had the instructions on how to do that. But since I've had it for 3 or 4 years, I couldn't remember how I did that. And what happened yesterday was this spool fell off. And I could not get it back on. I finally gave up and came home. And I found a YouTube video on how to take the thing apart. And what I found out is that the spool should not look like this when you take it apart. It should not have this part here, which is the drag, that red part right there. And it should not have this part down here, which you can see me moving it. Let me zoom in here a little bit, put the flash on. So you see that looks like gears in there? If I put my fingers down in there, you can see me rotating it. And you can see that this part, this red part here, which is the drag, has got some tabs on it. So those tabs have to line up with the recess down inside of this reel. And once you get them to line up, it still won't go together because this part that I've got rotating here has got threads on it. You see those threads? So it's only going to go apart so that those threads contact this part in here, which also has threads. And it's only going to go together that far until you thread that part onto there. But that's not really the way you should do it. What if it ever happens to you where this spool falls off and it looks just like this? I'm sorry, I didn't get it on camera. When this spool falls off, and if it looks like this, which is the wrong way, it shouldn't look that way. If you had an extra spool, so this spool has a floating fly line on it, and if you had an extra spool that has, say, like a sinking fly line on it, that extra spool would not have the drag and what they call the gland part here on it. So I'm going to show you the way your extra spool or this spool should look if I pull this off. And this is what you should do if this ever happens to you. You should pull this off, set it aside somewhere where it can stay clean if you're at a lake, and then pull this part off. And maybe what you should do at the lake is just put this down in the water and wash it off real good. Splash it around. Don't drop it down in the bottom of the lake. And do the same thing with this one. Splash it around, get it kind of clean. And if you got a left-handed retrieve, then you want, if yours is like mine, you can see those lettering on there, and you can see that arrow. You want that facing up. So you drop this down inside your reel once you've cleaned it off pretty good. And then you take your finger and push this down until there. You see it just popped in. So that's those tabs lining up. Once you have it, now the tabs are lined up. Then you can take this part and screw it on there, and just do it carefully. Don't cross thread it. Okay, there it started. It's screwing on. And once you get it snug, that's snug right there. Then go hand tighten it. And now you can put your reel, you can put your spool back on. Okay? This is the way your spool should look. It should not have this gland gear looking thing on the spool along with the drag. All of that stuff should be on the reel, not on the spool. Okay? So I didn't know that. This thing fell apart. The spool fell off, and I did not know what it was supposed to look like, and I did not know how to put it back together. And it pretty much ruined my day at the lake. So, just to go back and show you how it looked when it fell apart, if I take that off, okay, it just came off, and there's the threads on it. If I put that there with the threads sticking up, and I take this out, it just comes out. And I put it on there with the lettering facing the gland. I'm going to call it the gland gear. I don't know what. Gland cap, I think is what it's called. I put that on there. That is the way it looked when it fell off. When this spool fell off my reel, that was the way it looked. And I could not figure out how to put it back together. It would only go so far, and then it wouldn't go any further. And I could tell it was not together. And whenever I lifted up on it, obviously it was not back together. I mean, it would only go together that far. And I could not get it to go any further. And it would not stay on. So I came home. And it turns out the reason it wouldn't go back together is because this stuff is not supposed to be on the spool. So you take this off. Try to keep it clean as possible. Take this off. Try to keep it clean as possible. Like I say, you might want to just take and splash this around in the lake or the river. Take and splash this around. And then put it on there. If you want a left-handed retrieve, on mine, I want that particular arrow and lettering to be facing up. So I drop that down in there. Take my finger and rotate it till the tabs line up. Right there, it just dropped in. It makes like a clicking noise. Then take this, thread it on there. Right there, it's snug. Then hand tighten it. Then put your reel back together. Making sure that your fly line is coming out this way. Okay, they're starting to go down in there. Okay, and then it should just click on. You can see it's not all together yet. Make sure that your fly line is not being pinched in there. And right there, you just see it snap on. Now it's on there. Okay, and you're ready to go again. But I did not know how to do that yesterday, and it pretty much ruined my day of fishing at the lake. So if I were you, once you get back home, I would take it apart again. And you can do that just by grabbing it right here and pushing on the spool. There you see it just popped loose. Take it off. Okay. When you get home, take it all apart again. Take this off. Take this off. And I would take some Q-tips and clean it up real good. Make sure you don't have any little pieces of sand or grime or anything in there that's going to be causing problems. Take your drag, take it and take some Q-tips and clean it up real good. I've already done that, so I'm not going to do it again. I use some silicone spray to spray it and some Q-tips to clean it real good. And then I put some silicone paste, a thin film of silicone paste in there as a lubricant. And I got mine all completely cleaned. But if this should ever happen again, the best thing to do is to take this and this off of your spool. Clean them as best you can out there in the field. Then put it back together. Or you might want to just do what I did, call it a day. I called it a day and came home and then cleaned it all up, put it back together the way it's supposed to, and I should be ready to go. So what happened in the 3 or 4 years that I've owned this thing, right there, that gland cap is snug, and you hand tighten it. Apparently, over the 3 or 4 years that I've been using this reel, that worked its way loose and eventually came completely off, so that and the drag were on the spool, which is what you do not want. So from now on, my plan is to, in the winter time, take this reel apart, clean everything, then put it back together and put this gland cap on snug. And then they say don't use a tool, just use your fingers to snug it down nice and tight. And if I do that once a year, I don't think that'll ever happen to me again. So I'm just going to put it back together now. There you can see it's almost together. All I got to do now is just push it and it should pop in together. Right there you saw it just pop in together. And it's back together, ready to go. That's the end of this video.